day 1570, 1570 days since Richard was premeditatedly murdered, code red on Fort Bliss by his command for becoming a whistleblower, reporting the criminal misconduct and activities on Fort Bliss and the trafficking to the Child Protective Services. That would be Ann Ogle, CYS, on Fort Bliss. Also, DES, Director of Emergency Services, would also get that information. Kane, DES Kane, Thomas Kane. So now it's Patrick Dyer, DES Patrick Dyer. We wrote him recently also because of new information coming out every day. And I'm on here every day, and there is always new breaking information to talk about. And to also that breaking news. It's so frequent in this case that you have to repeat to put all the pieces together. It's very important. So, it's just a must to do these live streams to give you the new news out there. Because remember the CAO, no new news. I'm like, are you kidding me? There's so much new news all the time, so much information. Let me see if I'm on Facebook, see if everything is working right. Yeah, there it is. Okay, I'm already on. Okay, so I can see everybody. Now, if you have a question, comment, or want to share a prayer, some love with us, absolutely. That has sustained us, that keeps us going. So we did a fourth audio, and yeah, and there's more audio. Okay, there's a lot more audio. There's so much audio. There's so much evidence, hard evidence. And we're going through the audio of Joe Spencer. And of course, we don't have a legal mind. So, it's like, what is important in this case that he is saying? And what are the ramifications for this? Because just like when we went into our very first meeting there in El Paso with the CID, and they told us that, oh yeah, they just couldn't help us really, that, they didn't know what to do. We would have to do the investigation. We would have to bring them leads because they didn't have leads. They didn't have leads. They didn't have leads in this case, y'all, which is, absolutely the most ridiculous thing 4 years later, over 4 years. And they've been working on it for over 5 years because Richard's case started way before his code red murder. Okay. It started way before that. They knew exactly who he was, just like with Glendon Oakley Jr. They knew exactly who he was. And, this started in 2019 before the Walmart mass shooting case when Richard's whistleblower complaints were being heard in DC, and there were audits. It was being heard in the Pentagon, and there were audits, and there were investigations, and not because they wanted to. General Mealy didn't want to. General McConville didn't want to. General Garrett didn't want to. They didn't want to. But they were driven, and they were even more driven when it came to finding Vanessa Guillen's body. And I think that it also played a part in deciding to code red murder Richard. There's a lot of factors that came together that we believe, and we believe it was a hate crime, a Christian hate crime. We believe that, there's several factors that came together that made them murder Richard, decide to murder Richard instead of just transferring him out somewhere. Maybe, because he even requested to be transferred. He even requested to volunteer to be deployed again. He wanted to get out of that unit. He would take anything, he would do anything to get out of that unit. Um, and they denied it. They denied. They wanted to keep their reins on him. And I believe this was a hate crime. They hated him. Richard was a very dedicated Christian and knew his faith, And how do I know that? Because he's homeschooled. I'm the one that directed the teaching, right? I'm the one that directed the teaching. I'm the one that taught him a lot of things. And so I absolutely know that he had systematic theology. I absolutely know that that he had a foundation in his faith and what to believe in. Um, and not really what to believe in, because, and I want to clarify this. Um, the way our curriculum was the classical curriculum, and it's called the trivium, and the trivium is grammar, logic, rhetoric. Those are the main three. And then, of course, it ends with debate. And so, you know, when you know the trivium, um, the whole theory behind the trivium is that during the grammar stage, you're learning for about the first 5-6 years. Um, your alphabet, reading, writing, arithmetic, how to calculate, a lot of repetition, a lot of drill there, and a lot of writing, his writing skills. You can see it in his letter to Ominopi. I've posted that. I've even done live streams and posted his schoolwork. When he was a young boy, when we adopted him at 5 years old, he only knew Polish. So the first 5 years is learning the language, the mechanics of the language, and then the next step is logic, learning how to think, learning how to calculate your thoughts. How to reason, how to put puzzle pieces together, right? Events together to help you make decisions. So, you learn how your language, read, write, arithmetic, and then you learn how uh, the way the human brain thinks, so that you can reason, to make decisions. And then you go into rhetoric, which means you express what you think, what you believe in. And then the next, and then, you can learn for the rest of your life. If you have the trivium, you can learn for the rest of your life. And, this is, coincides with our Christian faith, because, you need to be able to read, write, do arithmetic. You need to know how to think logically, and you need to know how to express it. And then the next one is the debate, right? How to make an argument for your reasoning, for your thinking. And so Richard had that. And so there was no doubt at all in our minds that he knew how to reason, that human trafficking, sex trafficking, child porn, um, organ trafficking, weapons trafficking, fraud, waste, and abuse with ammunition, um, all kinds of crime, the sex cult crime, the getting drunk all the time, um, you know, when you've had the trivium, you can think things through and you can say, well, that's not a good decision because those have consequences. And, you might be able to get away with legal consequences, but there is the seen and unseen, right? The seen and unseen consequences. So he knew, you could get sick, you could get your heart hurt, you could burn yourself out, you can um, destroy other people. You could, there's all kinds of consequences besides the legal consequences, the accountability that we desire. And I think the mandate for this election of President Trump for the 47th United States presidency is because we want accountability. We're so sick and tired of no legal consequences for these people that are um, consequently by their criminal action hurting us so much and costing us so much money, that we have so much debt, that we have so much inflation, that it's like eye pencil. One thing leads to the other. And I think a good story is, if you give a mouse a cookie, right? If you give a mouse a cookie, they'll want a glass of milk, and soon, before you know it, they've got your entire house, and they're bringing in their rats, and it's a bad scene. And so this is uh, something I really needed to let everyone know about Richard, because he is a hero. He's a huge hero because he didn't go along with the Vanity Fair. He didn't go along with the sex cult. He didn't go along with the criminal activities. He didn't go along with the criminal trafficking. And he, had enough conviction from his rhetoric training, from his reasoning, that he made complaints, that he became an official whistleblower and made complaints. And so when we got there, and when we were meeting with the CID, and they were telling us that Richard wasn't even a Christian and that he was a criminal and everything, it was the most ridiculous thing. And I didn't have time enough to explain to him about our life. I'm just saying, I'm just looking at him thinking, okay, red flags are going up in my thinking, and Team 5 Richard Halliday's thinking, our red flags are going up. And um and I just said, okay, I don't care. I don't care what you think. You're wrong. um but your duty is to find him, right? Your duty is to find him. And they were like, well, we don't have any leads. You have to bring us the leads. You have to do the investigation, and you have to bring us the leads. And so that's what we did. And so here we are. Here we are with discovering and exposing and reporting um, so many things wrong there in beautiful El Paso. I was born at White Sands Missile Range. I went to school in El Paso. I would go over to Juarez all the time. When we went there in 2020, I went over there. We went over there, oh, geez, more than 24 times, maybe 36 times. I went in the roads of Juarez, handing out prayer candles and cards and flyers and everything, um, because it was important for people to know that I wasn't afraid, that I was open to them, especially, during 2020 and 2021. And, we were absolutely just looking for our son and wanting information, and that if anyone can give us information, we would be very, very grateful for that. And we received so much information, and big information from God above. just because of different circumstances. And of course, the Dollar General cashier, who is top of the list, when all of this breaks, she's the top of the list, y'all. She's amazing. Um, of course, we have our key whistleblower, which is something I want to talk about today, because he's really, you can't even put him on a list, because it's just so important. I don't know how to describe it all. So I'll do my best. So these recordings from Joe Spencer, the defense attorney for Patrick Crusius, and you almost have to get a paralegal degree or a law degree to do this, to understand all of this. So these recordings of his, they absolutely confirm that Richard's case is the Walmart mass shooting case. They are absolutely connected. Don't forget that Joe Spencer is connected to Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia. Joe Spencer is connected to Leilani Hart. And it's important, because those were the agents, the how they weaponized the system to come after us first, come after Richard, come after our family, and then come after our key witness. So how did that happen? Of course, Richard was whistleblowing. Of course, they retaliated against him. We have all the proof with Belen Rocha, with the K9 Melendez. These are all part of the same group, the same rogue criminal group that targeted Richard 100% and then targeted us. 3905 Bliss Avenue. And this recordings, the evidence is out there, y'all. It's out there in the hands of the media. It's out there in the hands of law enforcement. It's out there in the hands of government agencies. It is out there. It's in the hands. It absolutely confirms without a reasonable doubt that Richard's case is the Walmart case, and the Walmart case is Richard's case. It's one story, y'all. It's one continuous story that is interconnected. And when Richard was being retaliated against for whistleblowing by this Melendez, by Belen Rocha, by those on Bliss Avenue, 3905 Bliss Avenue, by the family of Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, Danae Katzen, Jonathan Ambrose, connected to KTSM. That's why we were brought when they targeted us when we got there, and they targeted us less than 2 days later, okay, and brought us to KTSM. It's because that's where they're connected. They're connected there. And Danae Katzen, she knew exactly where to go. She knew where to sit. She knew what rooms to go to. She knew how to get up and go to the next room. No one needed to direct her. No one needed to tell her where to go. She was at home at KTSM. Okay? Very, very clear with that one. So, Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, family. Okay, it's very important. That that targeting happened in 2020. Okay, when we were there in 2020. So, fall 2020 into the winter, right? Fall 2020. And in what really, of course, January 2021, Yvonne Rosales became the district attorney for the 34th Judicial District. There's so much here because I want to talk about Jaime Esparza, because Jaime Esparza is in these audios, and Jaime Esparza was on the Walmart case for 2 years, y'all. 2 years. And when you find out how illegal that was, and why that happened and why that was and why that's important, because DA Montoya, who just won, he's going to be the DA. He's going to be the next DA. If he signs the anti-bribe line before he takes the oath of office, is Mr. Montoya going to install himself properly? You know, he barely had to campaign. And let's see if he signs the anti-bribery line before he takes his oath of office. That's going to be very interesting, right? But he was on the Walmart case, okay, under Jaime Esparza when Jaime Esparza was the DA. So this is, just a continuation. Mr. Montoya is not new to the Walmart Richard Halliday case, the Walmart Patrick Crucius, Richard Halliday, and I would say even Glendon Oakley Jr.'s case. Absolutely. So when we were targeted in 2020, Yvonne Rosales became the DA in January 2021. And in 2022, January 2022, we received notice, Team Fine Richard Halliday received notice that a whistleblower filed multiple complaints, a complaint in multiple agencies and institutions, exposing Leilani Hart and Tavita Nusa as the CID agent, Tavita Nusa, as interfering in our case. That whistleblower was Judge Roger Rodriguez, a judge, y'all, a judge. Now, that's very important because the next thing that happened was a orchestrated attempt by Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia to retaliate against Judge Roger Rodriguez while setting Yvonne Rosales up to be removed and replaced. So I guess they were trying to get 2 birds with 1 stone, right? Because Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia was absolutely weaponized against Judge Roger Rodriguez And how do I know this? Because it's all in the news. And when you're investigating for over 4 years and you're putting together a timeline and you see the attacks on Yvonne Rosales, you see the attacks on our key whistleblower, and a whistleblower in both cases. That is one case. So in the Walmart mass shooting case and Richard's case, one story. So that was going on um, in the summer and into the fall of 2022. So first, these people targeted Richard. Okay. Then they targeted us. Then they targeted Yvonne Rosales, her administration, and I'm thinking of Curtis Cox here, and probably others, and then Judge Roger Rodriguez, the key whistleblower in the Richard Halliday case. Bill Hicks, Bob Moore, and Justin Underwood schemed together to remove and replace Yvonne Rosales. So using what Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia was weaponized to do. So this case is one story. And in January 2023, Bill Hicks became became the usurper because he never installed correctly. So he's illegal. He's fake. He's a fake DA. But his administration was put into place, even though he was a usurper. And right away, Bob Moore started with using Leilani Hart, Richard's platoon leader's mother, the very person that was tampering with Richard's file, with CID agent Tavita Nusa, who has been unwanted, kicked out of everywhere she goes. Park University, the Combined Veterans Association, the UPS, they kick her out, right? USPS, probably USPS. Problems everywhere. Okay. She is a convicted criminal. She is an unreliable source. She is trouble wherever she goes. Before Richard was even born, she was trouble. Okay. Her criminal record goes back before Richard was ever born. She's an unreliable source. It's just piled on. It's not like, oh, she had a moment of oopsie in her life and now she's back on track. No, she is a perpetual criminal. And she is connected to Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia. How do I know? Because of the articles. Going through the articles with a fine-tooth comb, seeing that Leilani Hart mentions Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia and information that hadn't come out anywhere else that confirms that she was getting information from Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia. And we have information with her and Danae Katzen. Absolutely, they have a connection. It's called the Mormon Congregation. This is how they're connected. Several of these, this is a common denominator that they share the same Mormon connection. And so, but Leilani Hart was used, a convicted criminal, not a reliable source, to attack, used by Bob Moore of El Paso Matters. And his stories were going everywhere, going used by other news media, and they attacked the very key whistleblower that was a year before whistleblowing on her. On her. So the prime suspect is retaliating against the very person reporting her. And that is, and a reporter is using her as a source to do it with a false story, with a false orchestrated story. And just like Joe Spencer with his false orchestrated story to the federal court, which is a fraud on the federal court, he told the federal court that Patrick Crusius was of right mind and understood the charges against him, that he accepted the charges against him, which was 20, I believe it was 23 counts, 24 counts, one of those, of hate crime. I put up the indictment, of hate crime killing. That was just a summary. But he was charged with the death. He was charged with using a firearm in a hate crime. And he, Joe Spencer, told the court, told the federal judge that Patrick Crusius knew exactly what he had done and that he was plea dealing. Because you see, you can't do a plea deal unless you know the consequences, right? You know what you're being charged and you know the consequences, and you're saying, yes, I rather, admit to all of this and, get 90 life sentences, 1,000 years in prison, rather than the death sentence, right? Now, death sentence, you could argue, would have been better for Patrick Crusius because Patrick Crusius was not in his right mind. He has a severe mental health condition. He has autism. Autism so bad that his neighbors reported that he was banging his head on the sidewalk in their neighborhood at the age of 3, and that people had told his family that when he was a young child and he was so sickly, they should not have let him live. They should not have let him live. So what does that tell you? Okay, that tells you that's pretty cold-blooded, very cold-blooded. But what does that tell you? That he has severe autism, that he has severe problems, that, he is very, very needy. He's a special needs person. And we know that autistic individuals, I believe 20 to 30% of them, I think it's 30% of them are nonverbal. They're nonverbal. They don't talk. And we know from Patrick Crusius, he's very limited. He, if you can find him talking, any kind of recording of him talking, let me know, because I am looking and looking and there isn't any. He seems to be a nonverbal autistic individual. And that is important because he's supposed to take, accept what he has done, and take responsibility of what he did. And I don't no evidence indicates that he is able to be responsible for himself. And and apparently nothing was in his name, because when the application for counsel since it costs millions and millions of dollars, when the application for counsel was filled out, Patrick Crucius, at the age of 21, living in a posh apartment in San Antonio with his car, um, and I don't even know if he can drive because of the way all of this was set up. It's just so suspicious. Everything is so suspicious. But he didn't have a red cent to his name. Not a red cent. They put down zero net worth for everything. For everything. And had him sign it. And his signature is very elementary. It's very elementary. It would be, remember in grammar, I said we did 6 years. It would be in the first year of our grammar stage. That's his handwriting. It's very elementary. So the next thing, he was charged with hate crimes. And Ernest Christopher Grant, the media sweetheart, that absolutely now is called a villain, is called a liar. Not me, that's out there, news articles, that he's a liar. The El Paso Police Department said he was not, giving factual information, which means he's a liar. And he was saying that Patrick Crucius was full of rage, that this was a hate crime, full of rage. Now, when minutes later, when he was surrendering himself to a Hispanic police officer, he wasn't full of rage. He didn't even have attitude. He didn't say, "Oh, jeez, I'm surrendering myself to a Hispanic. Oh, jeez." He didn't say nothing. He didn't even talk. I don't see any talking in the video. I don't see nothing. But maybe I'm not looking close enough. Maybe I'm not looking close enough. If you can see where he talked, his hands were not bagged for evidence. This is just minutes later. Why wasn't his hands bagged for evidence? There was such clean clothes. His clothes were so sparkling clean, and his shoes were so sparkling clean. And this was minutes after a very dirty job. A very dirty job. And he has sparkling clean clothes, right? So the racist thing, the rage thing, the hate thing, the ability to do fine motor coordination, to even carry out such a crime, then also no money at all. He had no money at all. Yet he had internet service in his car, and he had a computer, and he was sitting there in his car in these minutes, and uploading his manifesto. We're led to believe that he was just so ready. He was so ready. He had his internet, he had his computer, he had it all set up, he had his manifesto all written up, and they load that up. And then they start putting things that were on his social media, trying to blame Trump for this whole thing, for his ideology that was pro-Trump. They tried to do and okay, I don't know if that's right or wrong, but let me tell you, Patrick Crucius is so sickly. When he was sickly as a child, remember that. And, am I defending him? I think I'm defending the United States judicial system because I don't take kindly to the likes of Joe Spencer to manipulate paperwork, because I do not believe that Patrick Crucius was worth zero net worth, to get the taxpayers and it was approved right away, to get the taxpayers to pay millions of dollars in state and federal funds for him to commit a fraud on our federal court to a federal judge to use someone that has special needs, whether he did it or not, but was not in the right mind, did not do a trial so we could, decide for ourselves what he deserved, because with a jury of peers. No, he plea dealed for 90 life sentences, saying that he had hate in his heart, that he was a racist, that he was fully aware of these charges, and um, clearly evidence, hard evidence, even Joe Spencer's own words recorded, um, confirm that Patrick Crucius was not and did not, um, and was every bit of an opposite of what Joe Spencer lied to the federal court, committing a fraud on the federal court, did. And this is clear evidence that the Walmart mass shooting was orchestrated, that it's everything that we said it is, and that people absolutely know that it was orchestrated. And even our key whistleblower witness, who, if anyone knows how to be a whistleblower, it's Judge Roger Rodriguez, right? He knows how to fill out a complaint and turn it in. And he's not going to put everything on the line. This is this is our guess. This is our reasoning that a judge has a lot to lose, and he's not going to put it all on the line for a false statement. So absolutely, Leilani Hart and Tavita Nusa, the CID agent Tavita Nusa, tampered with our son's case and then targeted Judge Roger Rodriguez, and absolutely knows and is part of this rogue criminal group that is part of the Walmart case and is part of our case. And I would even say part of the usurpation of the retaliation or the scheming to remove and replace a duly elected district attorney, Yvonne Rosales, thereby tampering with an election, and also tampering with the election of President, and in this case, against President Trump. Clearly, that's what they were doing. And the evidence, it's not me saying, oh, I suppose so. No, it's the evidence that confirms it. So this is really an important revelation, and the more that these audios come out, and the more you listen to them, the more you'll realize how everything fits together, and that there has been some amazing crimes, jaw-dropping crimes, in this case. It's huge. Okay, let's read some comments now. Kelly and Courtney, what is going on with the case? Well, I hope I just explained it to you. It's part of the Walmart case. Well, really, the Walmart case is part of Richard's case, because Richard's case came first. And the Walmart incident, the Walmart shooting, was meant to be a law enforcement intelligence diversion away from what Richard's reports, his whistleblower reports, were exposing. That's what was going on. And it is a fact that Fort Bliss was under audit. It is a fact that Fort Bliss was under investigation. It is a fact that that was happening because the IG was all over the barracks because of Halliday. And, all of the nuances of this case we have put out day in and day out, and we have backed it up with hard evidence. And Patrick Crusius now has been, I believe that we broke the Walmart case. I really do. Patrick Crusius, the evidence, not us, but when you look at the evidence and you put it out there, and now with these recordings with Joe Spencer saying it himself, that this is in 2022 when he was saying it, that Patrick Crusius was not in his right mind and could not even fathom what had happened. He can't do a plea deal. He can't do a plea deal in a federal court when that's the case. When his client, when the defendant cannot understand the charges against them, does not agree to the charges against them, tells the family, the Rickard family, that he is not a racist, that he's not a white supremacist, that he is so sorry for what happened. He's not full of rage. He doesn't have hate. If he's sorry about people dying, then that means he doesn't hate them. So the charges against him and for this plea deal were absolutely illegal. They were a fraud upon the federal court, and I think they're going to be rescinded. And, do I believe that Patrick Crusius needs a trial? Um, you know, he was there and he surrendered. He was not read his Miranda rights. His hands were not bagged. He was sparkling clean. Does there need to be a further investigation into the real shooters, into their connection with Patrick Crusius, how they used Patrick Crusius, what part did he play before, during, and after, who helped him? Because we received information from Austin saying, yes, we are right. All evidence indicates that Patrick Crusius did not do this alone. Okay? And they have to talk very carefully, right? They have to talk very carefully. They have a lot of politics in this. And anyway, so that's what we're getting. And what that means to us is that absolutely there were others. And we know that from Glendon Oakley Jr., who confirmed that there were others with M4s. We have information about brown tip bullets and green tip bullets. And, so absolutely the Walmart mass shooting took place. We have information that the crime scene was tampered with. And I think that these audios corroborate that. It's all coming out. And it's in God's perfect timing. And why are we doing this? Why are we exposing all of this? Well, because we want our son's remains. We have evidence that they have Richard's partial remains. Okay? We have evidence that they have Richard's partial remains, and they refuse to give it to us. Which is a crime. It's a total crime. We want our son's remains, and we want accountability to those that hurt Richard. And this is that rogue criminal group from the original response team. So it's, we know who they are, and they need to be held accountable for what they did to Richard, for targeting us, for their participation in the Walmart mass shooting case, and the cover-up and the retaliation against a key whistleblower witness in our case, Judge Roger Rodriguez. And you're going to hear a lot more about that because it's all in God's timing. And we broke these. We broke the case. We broke the case, and what's really, really sad is do not reward us for breaking these cases because all the evidence has been in the hands of the CID, of the military leadership, of the media, of the law enforcement community, of the intelligence community. They've had it. They've had it. And they've been stiffs, sitting on it, just sitting on it, being stiffs. And now today we heard that Christopher Wray, FBI Director Christopher Wray, seems to be packing his boxes, seems to be planning on packing his boxes anyway. And he can't get out of that door fast enough. And I believe he needs to be arrested. I think he needs to be tried just like Mealy. Their crimes are so treasonous, are so bad, are so evil. And they have to be held accountable because if we never hold these people accountable, how are we going to ever restrain evil and all the fraud, waste, and abuse that is causing so many people their lives and so many people pain? Yeah. So, any questions? Thank you so much for justice for Richard Halliday and his family, and a lot of prayers, and Danielle for prayers and justice and love, and Anicia for your prayers and love. And please share. Please share the music videos. I overlaid them on top of me because we're being very shadow banned with that. A lot of people haven't seen some other videos that we've made because they're being, just hidden from public view. And how do I know? Because I'll put out one video and it will, you know, it's the same. I'll put out my videos and it's the same number, right? And then all of a sudden you don't get anything, it's just a limbo land. So yeah, and I hope that those music videos help you understand what is going on because the federal court, the fraud on the federal court is a big deal. And Joe Spencer can lose his law license for that. He can absolutely be arrested for that. So, these are big, heavy crimes. Thank you so much, everyone. God bless you. And I will be back tomorrow. Oh, I've had several calls about Veterans Day, and I have Rob's box right beside me there of all of his decorations. My husband is a very decorated 30-year veteran, and, humble, man of character, and is an absolute American hero. People don't even know what's happening behind the scenes. He is a absolutely unseen hero. And, I just, well, anyway, I got calls today about Veterans Day, and please bring some things for Rob and, of course, for Richard and, of course, for my father. We are a family of veterans, my father-in-law, veterans. And so it's not Memorial Day, it's Veterans Day. So it's all all the veterans, once a veteran, always a veteran. And so I want to wish, and I will do it again tomorrow, but I hope you prepare tonight, put out some flags, and wish veterans a very, very happy Veterans Day. And yeah, appreciate what they've put up with. They've had to put up with McConville. They've had to put up with Mealy. They've had to put up with very foul leadership, and you know, but we need to remember them especially. Thank you so much. God bless you. Until tomorrow.